Have you ever tried to open a U.S. bank account, get paid as an independent contractor, or claim a tax refund, only to hit a massive brick wall because you don't have a social security number? Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. Without the right documentation, your U.S. financial activities can be completely frozen. Welcome to this explainer. We're going to transform some seriously complex IRS rules into a clear, straightforward roadmap to help you navigate the bureaucratic maze of getting your ITIN. We'll go step by step so you can dodge the common traps that delay so many applications. Let's get right into it.
If you're in this boat, getting an ITIN isn't just a nice-to-have, it's absolutely critical. Imagine this, you're an international freelancer, you've done the work, you're ready to get paid, but boom, the company's HR department rejects your invoice. No way, right? Well, that's the harsh reality without an ITIN. For non-U.S. residents, foreign spouses, or international students, lacking this number means you literally can't fulfill your tax obligations or do basic financial tasks. The stakes are high here. Getting this wrong means massive delays, held-up refunds, and blocked payments. But getting it right? That unlocks your ability to operate smoothly within the U.S. financial system.
Here's our game plan for today. First, we'll clarify what exactly an ITIN is. Then, we'll cover eligibility requirements, walk through the step-by-step application process, point out the common mistakes to avoid, and wrap up with the practical value of having one.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, what is an ITIN? Let's unpack this acronym. ITIN stands for Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. It's a unique 9-digit number, always starting with a 9, and it's formatted just like a social security number, with the dashes in the exact same places. The IRS issues these numbers specifically for folks who are legally required to have a U.S. taxpayer ID, but just aren't eligible to get a social security number. Think of it purely as a tax processing tool created to help people comply with U.S. tax laws. That's its whole job.
Now, we really need to bust some myths here because there's a ton of bad info floating around. Let's be crystal clear about what an ITIN does not do. It does not grant you work authorization in the U.S., it doesn't change your immigration status, and it absolutely does not entitle you to Social Security benefits or the Earned Income Tax Credit. It's also not a form of personal ID outside the tax system. Again, it exists solely to help you process your taxes.
Moving right along to Section 2, Eligibility Requirements.
So who actually needs to go through this? Basically, if you have a federal tax purpose, you need one. You're eligible if you fit into categories like being a non-resident alien, independent contractor filing taxes, or claiming a tax treaty benefit. Or maybe you're an international student, a visiting professor, or a researcher. It also applies to resident aliens filing a U.S. return, and importantly, to foreign dependents or spouses of U.S. citizens or resident aliens who need to stay compliant with IRS regulations.
Now, here's a super important caveat for families to keep in mind, thanks to some recent tax law changes. Because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the deduction for personal exemptions was suspended from 2018 through 2025. In plain English, this means dependents and spouses living outside the U.S. generally have to qualify for a specific, allowable tax benefit, like the credit for other dependents, or they need to be filing their own tax return. To even be eligible for an ITIN right now, you can't just apply for one for the fun of it. You need a valid tax purpose.
Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Section 3, the step-by-step application process.
This whole process revolves around one crucial document, Form W-7, and the journey breaks down into 4 essential steps. First, you've got to check your exact reason for applying right there on the W-7. Checking the wrong box is a guaranteed way to get delayed. Second, you need to gather very specific supporting documents proving your identity and foreign status. Third, in almost all cases, you have to physically attach your valid federal tax return to the application. You're basically showing the IRS, hey, this is exactly why I need the number. And here is a massive, actionable tip for filling this out. Write N/A on all blank lines of the W-7 instead of leaving them empty. It prevents processing delays. And finally, step 4, choose how you'll submit the whole package.
Speaking of those supporting documents, the IRS is incredibly strict here. They have a specific list of 13 acceptable documents to prove who you are and your connection to a foreign country. But here's the real game changer, the passport. A valid passport is the absolute golden ticket because it is the only standalone document that proves both your identity and your foreign status simultaneously. If you don't use a passport, you're going to have to provide a combination of at least 2 other current documents, like a national ID card and a civil birth certificate.
For Step 4 submission, you've got 3 main paths to choose from. Path 1, mailing it to the IRS in Austin, Texas. It's free, except for postage, but it's slower. And the catch? You must mail your original documents or agency-certified copies, meaning you might be without your passport for weeks. Path 2. Visit an IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center or TAC. Also free, and they verify and return your docs immediately, but you have to snag an appointment, which can take a long time. Path 3. Use a certifying acceptance agent, or CAA. These are IRS-authorized pros. Yes, they charge a fee, anywhere from $50 to $500, but they securely verify your documents right on the spot and handle the submission for you. Talk about peace of mind.
Next up, Section 4. Avoiding common application mistakes.
Let's draw a massive line in the sand right here, because this is where so many applications completely derail. If you're mailing your application, you probably don't want to send your actual physical passport, right? You might think, oh, I'll just get a copy notarized. Stop right there. No! The IRS will only accept certified copies from the issuing agency itself, like your home country's passport agency or embassy. Sending a basic notarized copy stamped by your local public notary is a huge trap and literally the fastest way to get your application flat out rejected.
A few other fatal errors to keep on your radar. The most common reason an application gets sent back is forgetting to attach your actual tax return to the Form W-7. Unless you meet a super specific exception, that W-7 cannot go it alone. Also, double-check that your ID documents are not expired on the day you submit. Ensure your name, date of birth, and country on your docs match the W-7 perfectly. And lastly, if you're mailing it yourself, do not send it to the standard IRS address on your tax return instructions. It has to go to the specific Austin ITIN operation address.
7 to 11. No, not the convenience store. That is the number of weeks you're going to have to patiently wait for processing. Usually, it takes about 7 weeks to hear back about your ITIN status, but that timeline stretches to a full 11 weeks if you apply during peak tax season, which is mid-January through April, or if you're filing from overseas. Managing this delay is exactly why you should apply as early as humanly possible. Quick troubleshooting tip. If you haven't heard a peep after 11 weeks, you can call the IRS ITIN toll-free number to check your status.
Finally, Section 5. Practical value and conclusion. Let's look at the light at the end of the tunnel. What does this hard-won 9-digit number actually unlock for you? Well, it brings tangible relief. You can finally file your U.S. federal taxes and stay legally compliant. It lets you operate as an independent contractor, since you can now hand over a valid W-9 form to the businesses paying you. Plus, it allows you to open necessary bank accounts at U.S. financial institutions that accept ITINs, making managing your money so much smoother. Oh, and it lets you claim any tax treaty benefits you might be entitled to.
As we wrap this up, please keep one major thing in mind. Tax regulations shift constantly. The rules for dependents, acceptable documents, processing times, they can all change. Because of this, remember that tax laws and procedures may change, and viewers should consult the IRS or a tax professional for the most personalized and up-to-date guidance tailored to their specific situation. Always get advice based on your highly unique scenario. Well, we've covered the what, the who, the how, and the pitfalls. You now have a clear step-by-step roadmap to navigate this specific IRS requirement. So the ball is in your court. Are you going to let bureaucracy hold your finances hostage, or do you have your certified documents ready to unlock your U.S. financial journey today? Get that paperwork organized, take the next step, and claim your ITIN.